Hey everyone, it's Coach Mark here for Mr. Triathlon. In this video today, I'm going to answer your beginner questions on cycling. And if you stick around to the end, I've got a little bit of bonus content, which is one of the questions that everybody wants to know the answer to. How do I get faster on the bike? But more of that later. Okay, so the first question I hear a lot is, do I actually have to use a road bike for my triathlon? And the answer is no, you don't. The only factor is that here in the UK, your bike needs to be roadworthy to British standard levels. And so long as it is, you can use whatever type bike you want to. It can be a mountain bike, it can be a shopper bike, it can be, I guess it could be a penny farthing. I don't know if that's roadworthy. So long as your bike complies with British standards, then you're free to use it. I think I've actually seen people at the Blenheim Palace Triathlon, which is local to me, actually using a shopping bike with a basket on the front, with food in as well. I'm not sure if they were using it during the race or just taking it home afterwards. But yes, as long as your bike is roadworthy, you're free to use it in a triathlon. And then the next question that people ask is, do I actually have to use a triathlon bike? So let me explain what a triathlon bike is. So a triathlon bike has got a slightly more aggressive geometry to get you into that much more tuck aerodynamic position. And you don't need to use a triathlon bike, but what people do is they tend to, when they're looking for extra minutes and seconds and they get into the sport and they want to get that little bit faster, they get the time trial bike, and it just helps you to get even faster still by just avoiding that wind resistance. But when you're starting out, the most important thing is your bike is nice and roadworthy, so you can complete the triathlon, and then you do complete the triathlon, get into the sport, and then if you progress later, you can start to use a triathlon bike if you want to. The next question a lot of people ask about a bit of the tech is, do I need to use cycling shoes? So no, you don't again. So cycling shoes, the way they work is there's a specific shoe we use for cycling, hence the name, and you put a cleat on the bottom, like a plastic connector, and that clips into your pedal, which gives you a lot better connection with your pedals. This can improve your pedaling technique, but you definitely don't have to use this. In fact, this can be a real advantage for a beginner if you don't use cycling shoes. So when you get to your triathlon and you get from the bike to the run, if you've used trainers for your bike, which I did for my first couple of triathlons way back when, then when you finish the bike and then you get to the run, you're already in your trainers for running, so you don't have a complicated second transition getting from the bike to the run. You can just put your bike away, take your helmet off, and then start running. So actually it can be a bit more of an advantage for some beginners when you don't have to worry about other things you need to worry about in transition. This one is going to be controversial to some people. When I come to change a puncture on my bike, in a race or in training, is it okay to turn my bike upside down? I can hear a lot of people now going, absolutely no way, you never ever do that. I do that, and I think it's okay. You have my permission to do that. The reason being is when I was a little kid and I started out cycling when I was really young, I always used to turn my bike upside down to do any maintenance. And I still do that to this day because it's something that's always worked for me, and that's the most important thing from anything you hear about triathlon. Get lots of bit of advice from everywhere, but make sure you tailor it to yourself for what works, what's pragmatic and works for you. And if this works for you, keep on doing it. So in fact, if anybody knows why, or feels really strongly that you shouldn't turn your bike upside down and knows the reason why that, because no one's ever explained it to me, then please do put it in the comments down below and then tell me why, because I'd love to know. No one's ever explained it to me yet. But yes, for me, if I get a puncture in a race or training, I turn the bike upside down, nice stable platform to work from, take the wheel out, repair the puncture, put the wheel back in, turn the bike upside down, and off you go. It's worked for me over the last 20 years, the punctures that I've had, and I'll always continue to do that, unless somebody can tell me the reason why I should never do that. And then now to the bit that I promised you, the little bit of bonus content, is how do you actually get faster on the bike? So you may have heard something called an FTP, or you may now be saying, like this guy on the screen, WTF is an FTP. What the heck is an FTP? So FTP stands for Functional Threshold Power. And the reason why we can use this to make us get a little bit faster on the bike is your functional threshold power, we can use it to set your training zones. And your functional threshold power is basically your estimated power for 1 hour. So it's the maximum amount of power, or maximum average amount of power, that you could maintain for 1 hour. And the reason we use this is because it correlates very well with your threshold level. And the reason why this can help you get faster is we use it to set your training zones. So if you're going slightly above your threshold, then it stands to reason that if your threshold is your estimated pace of 1 hour, if you're going above your threshold, you're going to be able to exercise for less than 1 hour. So if your race is for longer than an hour, don't race up in this level up here, because you just won't be able to maintain it. And conversely, if you're doing your long endurance rides at the weekend, you can't do those at or above your threshold so long as they're longer than 1 hour, because you just won't be able to maintain it. So you have to come down to these lower level training zones, lower level power, that you can do for a longer period of time. Maybe your 2-3 hour bikes at the weekends, you do them at more like an endurance pace. So how do we actually find out what the FTP is? So there's different ways you can find out what your FTP is, but you have to do some kind of test, and then we find out what that value is. The most obvious way is if it's an estimated, your FTP is an estimated hour of power. The most obvious test to do is do an hour of power, find out what the power is, and then use that. That's quite hard to do your maximum average amount of power for 1 hour. It's quite a tough test, so most people do a slightly shortened version of that. So you do all your warm-ups, and then in the middle you've got a 20-minute period where you would take the average power from that, because then you want to extend it to your estimated power of an hour. You times that by 95%, and that gives you your estimated FTP. The test that I use with my athletes and has been very successful is a ramp test. So what I've actually found with many athletes is that they much prefer to do the ramp test than doing the 20-minute power test, and it basically comes out with exactly the same results. So if you're going to do a test, make sure it's the one that you prefer to do. So the way the ramp test works is you do a little bit of activation first as part of your warm-up, and then you start to do a ramp test, so it just goes up in regular intervals, the power increases and keeps going and going and going and going until you can't go anymore. And the idea is that you don't complete the test, and at some point you would fail and say that's the maximum power I could do. We take the maximum full 1 minute of power that you did throughout the test, and we plug that into our calculator, which would then, we take 75% of that value, and you can see for the example here on the screen, that if we did a maximum power of 350 watts, it's not mine by the way, but if we did a maximum of 350 watts, your FTP would work out at something about approximately 263 watts, and then we could use that to set your training zones. So what we can then do is be a little bit more exact about the power we're going to aim for when we do our interval training or our long endurance sessions. So you can see here on the screen, if you're going to do your endurance, for this example, if you're going to do your endurance long rides at the weekend, you do them at somewhere between 126 and 169 watts. So easiest thing to do is take the average, about 140, 145 watts, and try and do your workouts at that power. So this enables you to do some longer workouts without overcooking it, and then you do your interval sessions at these higher end, higher power zones, so that you can try and get faster that way. And it's the combination of those easier sessions and those tailored interval sessions that can help you to get faster on the bike. If you got any more questions about how these power zones work and you can use them to really progress in your training, then ask a question in the comments and I'll be happy to answer those. I hope you've enjoyed the video. I hope you found it very useful. Please do subscribe below, then you'll get notified about future videos. And if you have any comments about how to get faster or anything I've covered in the video, or you want to be covered in a future video, it doesn't have to be about cycling, anything to do with triathlon, please pop it in the comments and I'll try my best to answer it in the next video. Thanks very much for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.